Hello everyone, this is your host Professor Reha here with another part of the Beginner's Guide to Support. This is going to be on more advanced components of the role, such as warding, deciding whether or not deciding specifically when you need to initiate, or when you should be counter-initiating. A couple of tips on that I didn't go through in my last video, in talking about initiation specifically in conjunction with the other aspects of the support role in a more detailed manner and things along that line. The things you should be thinking about as you're going through the match. Let me see, what do I feel like being? This one? No, this one. Let's get extra fancy. Alright, so first thing that when you're a support you're going to be looking at is the enemy team composition. Now I can see from here that it's 3 physical, Fenrir, Artemis, and Erlang Shen, and 2 magic, Janus and Zhongqi. Now it's interesting that they don't have a guardian, which means either Zhongqi or Erlang Shen is likely, or possibly even Fenrir is likely to be the support, which means I know late game that they're going to have a little bit less tankiness unless they build Lano's Mask, which most don't. I'll have to keep an eye on that, so there will be a mental note made right away that I will have to quickly determine who is the support and then keep an eye on their build to see exactly how tanky they are in fact actually building. I will also have to make sure that I build a little bit tankier than normal to compensate for the fact that they will have stronger than average damage overall. Now, with that being said, the next thing we have to decide is how much self-healing I think that they're going to be doing. They have Erlang Shen, they have Fenrir, and they have Zhongqi. I don't think they're going to have enough to necessarily justify anything more than Pestilence or Contagion, so we're going to go right into Sentinel's Gift right off the top. Especially since, again, that'll really reinforce allies' protections as well. I can go into Sentinel's Embrace to help, again, offset that late-game slight boosted damage that they're going to have. So we're going to also go right into Iron Mail. We're going to head for Sovereignty. They have 3 physical, and we want to build up those protections early, because whoever their support is going to be, they are going to hit a little hard. Now, I'm not sure if I necessarily want Meditation Cloak or Magic Shell. Basic attacks. Well, considering that they have Erlang Shen, Fenrir, Zhongqi, and Artemis, I think Magic Shell will overall be more effective. I might later on down the road grab Horrific Emblem. So now we're going to go ahead and run for this. Oops, I'm on the wrong side. There we go. So we have a Hell, which means they're definitely going to be building anti-heals. So I'm not really necessarily going to get a lot of use out of Mail of Renewal or Stone of Gaia. I might build Mail of Renewal later on in the game, but it's not necessarily guaranteed, nor will it be strictly necessary. I'm going to be a little late to this because I spent too much time talking, but that is okay. This means that Danzaboru will be able to help out, and I will actually lose less HP. We will be playing more defensively by nature anyways, because we already know for a fact that the enemy support is going to be hitting a little bit harder in the early game. We're going to put a ward down there, and it's Fenrir. Okay, so they're going to be very aggressive about this. They're going to be trying to hit pretty hard. Yep, there it goes, which is fairly predictable. This is pretty normal. We're going to be definitely playing back until we start to really catch up here. I used a potion early. That's why I built 4 health potions rather than 3 and 3. Is because I knew that I would be needing a little bit more health than normal. That was a really good start by Danzaboru. Okay, good. This is a really good matchup of Danzaboru versus Fenrir. As you can see, I'm actually going to go ahead and get my dash. The dash can be used as counter-initiation. It's not what you typically use for counter-initiation, but it's an option. Oh, they went for our side. Interesting. We ambushed this. We stole. If I'd been a bit more aggressive about that, let me see if I can pick her up at the very least. We can't get Fenrir, he's too fast, but we can get her. Or we can force Fenrir to come back in. Okay, they're absolutely coming in. We're going to leave this as a retreat. Nope, come on. We actually accomplished all we needed. We forced them out of lane. We can grab this safely, which means we get both Harpies. I'm pretty sure we stole the last one. It was a bit touch and go there, so I'm not 100% sure I accidentally stole that, but that's fine. We also get this wave, and they had to... Oh, nope, she stayed up. I was going to say, they have to go back, but well, looks like only Fenrir went back, which is still going to put him down a wave. That was unnecessary damage I took there, but that's okay. We can take this probably... Oh, I started that a little too early. I should have started my swing a second later. And then he finishes that. I'm going to stand here and absorb health. We have a ward down, so it's not too concerning that we'll get ganged. There's Fenrir. No idea where Erlang Shen is, so I'm going to pull back a little bit, and we're going to play this safe again. Okay, once Fenrir starts using his Brutalize, which is definitely his most dangerous ability, we're going to be all over that with the Silence. He's going to probably try to... No, he didn't. Oh, he did, but he was way late on that. Go on.
And so the fight for survival begins. If only they accepted us, we could have saved them.
Alright. Just a little bit of poke on good old Fenrir. We're going to back up. Because, again, we don't know where Long Shen is. We didn't have anything to fight for up there at that time. Once she goes back, we're probably going to try to grab the purple buff. Because, frankly, even if Erlong Shen shows up, there's a strong chance that they won't have enough damage to take us out. And I don't even know if he's over here anyways. There's a 50% chance I haven't been paying enough attention to his location. There we go. Excellent. Actually, by the way, when I took the last blow on that Harpy, because Ganesh automatically transfers all kills to allies, I actually didn't get the credit for it. It actually operated as if Danzabuto got it. We're just going to chill here. We're going to grab the, what is this called again? The Turn of Fate. There we go. And we're just going to make sure that that gets eliminated quickly. Yep, we're just going to roll back here. We'll probably use a mana potion at this point. I'm going to need to use a little bit of mana here. He'll probably be going back pretty soon, which is fine. And there we go. And we're just going to really want to make sure that we clear the wave and defend our Scorpion. We really don't want them taking that because that is precious experience and gold. I'm going to go ahead and aggressively push this to make sure that I don't waste any of my... Okay, they're right here. Are we going for this? No, we are not. Okay, that's fine. I am going to try and save Mercury. It's fairly interesting that he's here. There's Erlong Shen. They're going pretty hard on this. No, I didn't steal that successfully. Alright, let's see if we can make something out of this. Danzabuto is in here. There he goes. Now we're gonna leave that. We're gonna leave that. I don't want him dying to Artemis. We've picked up our Long Shen. That's fine. That's all we need. Too bad we didn't get to Janus. That would have been a really huge benefit, but that's okay. We are going to just hang around here for a little bit, and then we'll probably rotate out because it does look like that Fenrir is no longer here, so I'm going to go ahead and leave. We're going to go ahead and dash here just to accelerate that, and also make sure that we maximize our mana potion usage. And then we're just going to help Hel in the middle lane. Now, I intentionally want to pull Fenrir out because I do believe that Danzabuto is definitely slightly ahead of the Artemis, so he stands a much better chance than normal of actually succeeding at 1v1s than she does, so that's a really good thing. Also, the Hel is a little bit behind, so she'll want the actual extra support there. Just going to put that ward down there. The Janus isn't usually... Well, the Janus is being aggressive because he has the opportunity to do so. He's, like I said, a little bit ahead. That's fine. I don't care if they have a ward there. And she's going to do her... Yep. That's fine. Is this up? It will be up soon. But we have the damage buff we can go for. Okay, she's very smart in her use of her abilities. She used that specifically for the speed buff. A couple of seconds can make a difference. I'm going to warn Danzabuto to be careful because I do not know where Fenrir is. Or for that matter... Oh, there's Fenrir. Okay, I don't know where... Erlong Shen is over there. Okay, so he's fine. I don't really mind that. Oh, I was just a second too late. You're not going to catch up to him. He's gone. If I'd been a little faster with that ult, he probably would have died. Hel would have gotten the credit, and that would have put her right back where she needs to be. No, she's fairly even with him, actually. She's a little bit of gold behind, but I think that's just because Janus rotates faster. That's about the only difference there. So now I'm thinking about going back pretty soon. Okay, I'll go ahead and gank that. I'll move on their side. They're less likely to have wards on their own side. People have a tendency to ward the enemy's side. Alright, I need to know where she is. So we're actually going to approach this fairly calmly. She probably has a ward right there. There she is. Okay, so we have eyes on target. Fenrir is probably coming to visit. She is not even remotely interested. She doesn't know I'm here, though.
They sacrificed their whole self for us.
Wow, that was absolutely dominating. Now, I had to time that fairly carefully because where she was standing originally, I was never going to be able to keep her down. We're going to go ahead and rack this up for Dance Butter. He'll want to steal, he'll want to take this. Here he comes. This is fine. We'll go ahead and use a health potion here. Oh, hello, Fenrir. I really don't care, though. Oh, I was a little slow with that silence, but it does make a huge difference. You're actually going to chase this. Okay, that's a little interesting. I think that's very bold of you, but are they still chasing? Because I really don't want to fight this. Can we... I'll leech a little bit off of him. I know Janus is over here, so Hell isn't in any danger right now. Now I'm going to go back to mid. Now she's in danger. As soon as I say that, okay. The Janus, I'm not surprised, got there that fast, but the Erlang Shen does surprise me a little bit. And well, I guess we're making a whole thing of this, huh? All right.
One less opponent that can stop us.
Oh, that's a shame. He used his beads well there. I don't really have the mana. Okay, they're going to actually commit here.
Slain.
There's a whole problem here. Okay, he's dead. Oh, that was unfortunate.
One less opponent.
Oh, we get to pick him up. We get him. We get him. We absolutely 100% get him. Yes. We're going to need to retreat very quickly after we take this camp. I do not have the mana to keep anyone left alive. I'm going to just go down mid really quick so I can push down a little bit of the wave with Hell over here. And then I'm out of here. I need to go back. I have almost 4,000 gold. I stayed up as long as I could. You'll notice I actually have quite the experience benefit over Fenrir. I probably have a huge gold benefit as well because I stayed up that long. 5,000. Yeah, I have about 600 on him, which is excellent. So now my next move, they still have enough healing where I want Pestilence. We're going to build, actually we're going to build a Sentry Ward and a regular ward. Sentry Wards are a bit interesting where they're very expensive, especially for supports who usually have a small deficiency of gold compared to their allies. Again, mostly because they're getting assists and not kills. Although, obviously, having Sentinel's Gift counteracts that. But if you're not building Sentinel's Gift, you're going to have a really hard time affording Sentry Wards. So you want to place these pretty aggressively so you can potentially steal, or, I'm sorry, destroy as many wards as possible. We can actually probably go on to this. Good play, good play. He's not going to get me there in time. Okay, here's Erlang Shen, which is fine. What is Fenrir building that he's so... Okay, he built Gauntlet Thebes. That was not a great decision considering his lower default protections. He probably should have gone right into Sovereignty like I did. We're going to go ahead and put a ward down here. And we'll see if anybody puts a ward down over there. Oh.
Accepted us. We could have saved.
Why is... Oh, she was looking for the buff. Okay, yeah, we can cut her off. Solo lane is unfortunately just not going to have an easy time. I'm probably not going to go over there at all this match until team fights because she's so far behind at this point that it's very unlikely that we can help her get back to a recoverable position this game. So we're just going to have to kind of abandon her, unfortunately, which sometimes happens. Yeah, get out of here, Fenrir. I'm going to go ahead and put a ward down there. I'm now going to try to prevent the enemy wave from going under tower really quick. Come on, come on. There we go. Good. Okay, I'll gather these up for Hell. Okay, she's here, so I can start attacking. He is definitely clearing that side camp. That's fine. There he is. He just finished it. We also know where Fenrir is. We don't know where Erlang is, but I can anticipate he's... Yep, left jungle, I was going to say. I think he was looking for a gank there. Alright, go ahead and hit me. I don't care. I have Pestilence. You don't have the penetration, do you? Kind of. Alright, they are definitely looking to gank mid here. I don't have quite as much mana as I'd like for this kind of fight. It looks like potentially they're queuing up for a 3 or 4v2 in the mid lane here, so we're going to want to keep this one a little bit cautious here. Definitely treat this one with some mild paranoia. Alright, Zhonghui's back and left, but we still don't know where Erlang Shen is gone. And Hell is leaving. Alright, well I'm going to go over to the left and help out. No, Fenrir has seen me. I just want to make sure then that he doesn't go. I don't know where Artemis is either. But I do want to help Mulan a little bit. She's definitely behind. But he is not even remotely interested in fighting me. Okay, we're just going to make sure we get this then, and then I'm going to leave. She doesn't really need me hanging around here stealing her farm. She's going to need all of that, so I'll just help her out with that, and then I'm going to head back to mid because Hell is back now. And I'm still concerned that they're going to try to gank her. Okay, so they've initiated on Mercury here. And then they abandoned the initiation, which is fairly... Oh, there's Erlang Shen, and there's Artemis. Interesting. Alright. What are we actually doing here? Use shell. I am getting attacked by my boy there for some reason. Get Janus killed. There we go. I'm going to have to back up a little bit here. Oh, you're chasing me all the way in. That's very interesting. Well, you failed. Cancel that. And there we go. All I had to do is interrupt the stun, and which I did somehow. Either that or he missed it, one or the other. I don't really have the health for this. I really don't have the health for this. Oh, I know what you're doing. Oh. I mistimed that. Yeah, that was a mistake of mine. I should have backed up a little bit earlier. I saw the damage being taken because she was doing her dark puff thing. I don't know what that is actually called. Her dark energy. Yeah, I forgot that that just attacks you from a farther distance away. So I died for it, but that's okay. She got, you know, I died to the Gold Fury, so the enemy didn't get any credit for it, so that's fine. My next move is definitely going to want to be cooldowns and some mana, which Breastplate of Valor will provide me both of. Get more wards. Because obviously this whole match so far I've been struggling with mana, as most supports will. So I'm going to want to accelerate that and also get some cooldowns at the same time. My item after that, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to get there. Definitely not Voidstone. I don't think we have quite enough necessary support for that. They are looking for... What are they looking for over here? We're going to go ahead and snatch this really quick. We're going to put a ward down here. There's Erlang Shen. They are definitely looking for a fight here. The reason why they're looking for a fight here is probably the presence of Hell. She's a healer, and they're really going to want to try to keep her lower down, you know, beneath Janus. They're going to try to prevent her from getting too strong, because if they allow her to get too strong, she's going to really hard carry in the late game. So they're really going to try to prevent that as much as possible, which is why there's so many. This is why they're so insistent on attacking mid. I'm looking for a good initiation, but there really isn't a good opportunity here. Here's our good opportunity. That was a good initiation by Mercury. And that dooms Janus, and this is going to doom Zhonghui. Good. I'm just going to go in here and tank this. And there we go. We're just going to take this right off. We can take this whole thing. They had just surrendered. Alright. So, despite the fact that this was surrender, really that is going to entail a lot of what you want to think about. Really, the only things I wouldn't have really been able to talk about was warding the Fire Giant, which, you know, is fine. Obviously, you ward the Fire Giant as much as possible. But really, that was really strong support gameplay. My only mistake in that match was definitely the Gold Fury. That was definitely a mistake. I also probably shouldn't have stayed so long in duo lane for that gank with Artemis. Once she was dead, I probably should have just returned to mid. I underestimated how quickly Erlang Shen was going to return to mid lane. But yeah, overall, notice that, you know, at the end there, I just want to recapitalize on this. At the end, I was really tanking the tower. There was only Fenrir left, and we were just going to push forward to the second tower, and we still probably would have had time to get either the Gold Fury, probably the Gold Fury, at that point. But really, the only thing I wasn't able to cover, because you do the same thing with Phoenixes. Phoenixes and towers aren't really terribly different. Phoenixes hit harder. That's about it. So I'll probably do, a second follow-up episode to this, for this, with the advanced tips and tricks, because frankly that was a surrender. So, but it is an excellent example. I'll leave this up because it does really show an excellent early game for a support and the things that you have to think about constantly, from enemy map position to deciding how long you want to stay on the aggressive or the offensive, as the term actually is, and when you want to rotate, why you want to rotate, when you gank, you got to be very careful about that and make sure you don't lose the target. And I mentioned this very briefly in the early game, but when Fenrir and Artemis ran away, I didn't chase them because in the early game, retreating back and backing to the fountain is almost as good as killing them. They'll usually lose 1, possibly 2 waves of golden experience, which will put them far enough behind where you can then snowball that into an actual kill in your next fight, which is exactly what happened in this match. So this is really an excellent example of a support early to mid-game. We were just getting through the end of the mid-game at this point. Everyone was level 15. We were approaching roughly the mid-game. The mid-game usually, depending on how the teams are doing, runs roughly from level 7-ish, maybe 8, to level, I would say, 18, at least in my view. And then, the last 3 levels, you're grouping up for team fights. Our team was setting up to force a early late game stage, so to speak. Now what that is when a team groups up and starts, moving as a group and taking out objectives. This is usually something that's primarily reserved for the later game. This is the point at which people usually start taking down towers. Mid-game is usually when 1 or 2 of your lanes will take the first tower, but they're not necessarily going on to the second tower. They don't have the stats to necessarily support that. Usually, taking the second tower requires your full team. The fact that my team was moving in on that second tower in mid indicated to the enemy very strongly that we were in a late game position, and they were not. They were still in what would be known as a mid-game position. They were not in any kind of a stat-wise and item-wise. They weren't in a position to advance even onto necessarily the first towers at that point, because we were stronger than them. We would have been able to hold one of those. So we were already moving on to a late game phase type stratagem where they were still in mid game. So we were very far ahead of them. You can also see we had 21 kills compared to their 10, which is quite a huge difference. And I just want to point out one of the problems with out-of-role supports. Now, I used Guanyu in the previous episode as an out-of-role support. Guanyu makes for an excellent out-of-role support because he does a lot of things that other players really like. Guanyu heals. Guanyu slows. Guanyu reduces their protections. Guanyu gets tankier at the same time. Guanyu has a stun. Guanyu does moderately good damage, right? As a support. So everything he does, even though it can also help him, he heals himself and nearby allies. He slows down the enemy and reduces his cooldowns. He reduces enemy protection and increases his own. He gets to stun an enemy after doing a lot of damage to them. So Guanyu is very effective for that reason. Everything he does for himself also benefits his allies. This is not the case with Fenrir. In fact, Fenrir has what is best described as an unreliable stun and a really excellent grab. His stun is his jump. You need 5 runes in order to get the jump to stun somebody. To get 5 runes, you need to hit auto attacks, kill an enemy, or when you get an assist on an enemy god, you get 3 out of 5 runes. I believe it's 3. So you're not necessarily going to have the stun every time you jump. And it's his only source of real crowd control outside of his ultimate. Now, granted, his ultimate is really powerful crowd control. That's quite potent. But when you consider that his only other piece of crowd control as a support is an inconsistent stun that has to be kind of worked up to, and the only other 2 things he's got don't even make him tankier. One does lots of damage, and one gives him physical power and lifesteal boost. It's not really that significant. I think possibly Fenrir gets a protection boost from Brutalize. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll have to double check that. I know he used to at the very least. But anyways, not only does Fenrir have an inconsistent amount of crowd control, but you'll notice that, again, he went into Gauntlet of Thebes as his first item, and this is... Ooh, let me just punch my mic really quick. This is an extremely unfortunate move for him, because already Fenrir was going to be on the back foot with his protections. His default protections are not as high as Ganesh's. As we just stated, he doesn't have the crowd control. I have a silence, I have a pop-up, I have a slow on my ult that also reduces protections, and my first ability, Turn of Fate, boosts allied damage for every target it hits up to 5. I think it boosts it by 2% per target hit, and then it accumulates into a 10% damage boost for all nearby allies. So everything, once again, everything Ganesh does helps his allies, just as much as it potentially helps himself. And so Fenrir has these two things working against him and chose to go into Gauntlet of Thebes, which takes quite a long time to get into a workable position where it'll actually help keep you alive. And this was a huge problem. You will notice that Danzaburg was really slapping through Fenrir abnormally quickly. And then he doubles down on this with Blackthorn Hammer. Now, Blackthorn Hammer in and of itself isn't a bad item, nor is it bad for supports, for physical supports. But when you build this on the back of a mid to late game item like Gauntlet of Thebes, this really isn't an early game item. This can put you in a really ugly position, which is exactly what happened to Fenrir. He wasn't able to use his crowd control effectively, he wasn't able to stay in the fight too long because he didn't have the protections to stay in the fight too long, and he was just absolutely decimated. And that's why. I mean, the gameplay itself, the Fenrir's gameplay wasn't bad. Playing the Fenrir, the player was clearly at least okay with Fenrir. I'm not going to say they were a bad Fenrir player, because that isn't quite what's going on here. What it potentially looks like is either someone who was pushed into the support role when they didn't want to be, they're normally a jungler, which is possible, and they saw Fenrir being used either on a pro's stream, a pro's YouTube, or in a pro game. They saw the Fenrir support, it looked really impressive, because of course one of the pros was using it for months and months and months and really practicing with it, and they decided to bring it here. I know that is how Fenrir support became popular in the first place. It was first seen in a pro game. But it takes a lot of practice to do that, and maybe Samar ASMR is looking to practice, but this is not how you open with a Fenrir support. You open with a Fenrir support with some quick and dirty protection boosts that you can, actually outlast your opponents in the battle, and then you build your Blackthorn Hammer, and then you build a couple of hybrid items in there to really take advantage of Fenrir's damage output. That's when you build, in the later game you build Void Shield, Blackthorn, whatever you want. That has a little bit of damage, but you don't... It was too early for Blackthorn, especially when you consider Gauntlet of Thebes. That's all I'm really going to say about the Fenrir, and this is also my word of caution on out-of-role supports. You have to be very aware of their shortcomings. Guanyu is a really excellent out-of-role support. Fenrir is not. And, it all comes down to strategy. Also, Fenrir works really well as a support with certain characters. Artemis is one of them, do not get me wrong. Artemis and Fenrir in dual lane work very well together, but they did not have the level of coordination that they needed. It took too long for Fenrir to get to level 5, because we were able to force him out at level 2, and then he died a couple of times afterwards. So he wasn't able to get to level 5 fast enough, because I had already out-rotated to mid lane before he hit level 5. So either he could stay in dual lane at level 5 and perform the combo of Fenrir Bite into Artemis Trap, which is exactly what the design here was. He could have done that, but then he would have abandoned Janus in mid lane to the combination of Hell and I, which is not really what you're supposed to do as a support. So I, by rotating to mid, forced him to also rotate to mid, thereby killing the combination that they were originally going for in the first place. So, with that being said, that's all I'm really going to talk about for this episode. Thank you all very much for joining me, and if you like this, please like and subscribe, and if you have any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, suggestions, what have you, please leave them down in the comment section below. Have a great 24 hours.